You know, we've all felt it, right? That constant, sometimes really frustrating search for happiness. It can feel like this huge, elusive goal we're all chasing.
And, we usually tie our idea of what real joy is to these gigantic milestones, like getting that huge promotion, finally buying the dream house, you know the drill. And we get there, we feel that incredible high, but then it just fades, sometimes really, really quickly. So why? What's going on there?
Yeah, that whole cycle, chasing a big event, getting that temporary rush, and then the inevitable disappointment when it vanishes, well, that's a super well-known psychological pattern. We actually have a name for it. It's the happiness trap. So, the research we've dug into for this explainer suggests that trap exists for a really big reason. We've been framing happiness all wrong from the start. Our whole basic idea of what it is and how to get it, it's just flawed.
That's it, exactly. And the consensus from the experts is, well, it's a total game changer. They argue that happiness isn't some passive feeling that just happens to us out of the blue. Nope, it's an active skill, something you can actually develop and get better at on purpose. Okay, let's really break this down, because this slide feels central to everything. What's the big difference we're talking about when we say feeling versus skill? Well, think about it like this. A feeling is kind of like the weather. It's fleeting, it's passive, you can't really control it. A skill, on the other hand, is like learning to play the piano. It's stable, it's active, it's something you can develop. One is something you just hope for, the other is something you actually build.
And there's actually a scientific name for why this happens. It's called hedonic adaptation. So that amazing rush of joy you get from, say, a brand new car, it's totally real. But your brain adapts to it unbelievably fast. It just becomes your new baseline, your new normal, and that initial joy just fizzles out.
Okay, but that brings up a really important question. A tough one. What about real suffering? I mean, if someone's dealing with grief or a serious illness, are the experts really saying you can just skill your way out of that kind of pain?
That is an absolutely crucial point, and the research is super clear on this. This skill does not eliminate pain. It doesn't make suffering go away. What it does is build resilience. It's like building a really strong foundation for a house, so that when the storms of life inevitably hit, you don't just collapse. Right. I love this quote from one of the sources, because it nails it. It says happiness is an active construction project, not a cosmic lottery win. You don't just get lucky and find it. You have to build it, brick by brick. You're the one in charge of the project.
Okay, so if we're all meant to be architects building this skill, what exactly are we building with? What are the main parts of it?
So, the research points to three main pillars. First, you've got contentment. Think of that as your emotional weather for the day. Second, there's satisfaction, which is more like the long-term climate of your life, how you feel about the whole journey. And finally, you have purpose. That's the engine, the thing that gives your life direction and drive.
And the key thing is, they all have to work together. For instance, you could have a really bad day, your contentment is low, but you can still have high life satisfaction because you know you're on a path that matters to you. And that path, that's your purpose. Without that sense of purpose, even the good days can feel a bit empty. It's how these three interact that creates that stable well-being.
Wow, this really is a whole different way of looking at it. So, okay, if this is the model, the obvious next question is, how do we actually do it? How do we start building these pillars?
Right. If our time and energy are like money, where should we be investing them to get the best possible return on our happiness?
It's amazing how consistent the sources are on this. They all point to three main investment strategies. Number 1, focus on meaning over material stuff. Number 2, invest your energy in relationships and compassion. And number 3, commit to intentional, regular practice. Let's talk about that first one. It's powered by what's called the experience dividend. See, when you buy a thing, that hedonic adaptation kicks in fast and the joy fades. But when you invest in an experience, like learning something new or traveling, you're building memories, you're building skills. Those things pay happiness dividends for the rest of your life.
And this chart just shows it so clearly, doesn't it? Look at that. The material purchase gives you this big spike, but then it just plummets. The experience, it's a slower burn, but it has that long, sustained tail. That's where the real value is.
Okay, and for the second principle, look, the data on this is just overwhelming. The quality of your relationships, your social connections, they play a disproportionately huge role in your happiness. Way, way more than how much money you make or what your job title is.
And that brings us to the third principle. which is really the glue for the whole thing: intentional practice. This isn't just about thinking nice thoughts. We're talking about concrete actions, small daily habits like gratitude, mindfulness, actually listening to people. This is the nuts and bolts. This is the work that actually builds the skill.
So when you put it all together like that, the takeaway is, well, it's incredibly empowering. It really gives you a sense of control, of agency.
That's exactly it. You're in control of the inputs. It completely flips the script from waiting for the world to make me happy to I am the architect of my own stable state. You're in the driver's seat. So the big shift, really, is that we stop looking outward, waiting for these huge, rare events to come and rescue us and make us happy.
Exactly. And instead, we start looking inward and focusing on the small, daily choices we make, where we put our energy and our attention every single day. That's what truly shapes our long-term happiness. It's way more powerful.
So that leaves us with one final really practical question for you to think about. What is one single small habit you could start today to begin building this skill? Maybe it's 5 minutes of gratitude, or reaching out to a friend you haven't talked to in a while. Because ultimately, what all this research shows is that small, consistent practice isn't just a nice idea. It is the actual path to a happier, more sustainable life.